Who wants to do this particular recap?
It's all on him.
Yeah, alrighty then.
All right.
I guess I am...
Hey, this is a big moment, okay? Cordy, this is the best
Too much
microphone
pressure.
setup.
Well,
Well,
deal with
it.
Wow!
In stereo.
Wow. Alright. So, you're talking like top to bottom recap, ain't you?
Why not? Because the other recaps were on an inferior setup.
Okay.
But let's just do a quick recap of...
Story thus far.
Well, no, not even that far. We'll do that on a separate session.
Okay.
So, you guys finally had left home after making all of your provisions.
Mm-hmm.
The key things you wanted to take away from there were your experiences at the garden are now as faint as basically stories that you know happened.
Yeah.
And you know you were a part of it, but they're stories, not memories.
Right.
You don't feel like you did it, you just know the facts of the things that happened, and your name is attached to it. So it's kind of like if you were having read a book, and the main character had your name.
Yeah.
Similar concept. You have to remind yourself that that was actually you.
Okay.
And so you've packed up, you've set off with your new upgraded carriage. So you guys have decided to go south, and based on your map, there is an outpost that blocks the difference between the world that you know, the island of Maya, and the docks, which lead to the understood but unknown rest of the world.
Quite true.
Truly
Yes.
a concept of what most people would think of as the first time they've traveled internationally.
Yeah.
Sounds good. We'll go exploring.
So you traveled. Nothing happened on the way, except some dialogue and, some things that you guys found out. But when you got to the outpost, very large gate city, not a lot happened there. Unfortunately, that was mostly on me because it was quite late and needed to cut that gaming session short. So unfortunately, we didn't get to do too much there, but we did get one good encounter during that particular gaming session.
Encounter.
Okay, so... basically, what had happened was... So, we entered an establishment... and,
Was it established?
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. For me, I was just, like, in shock and in awe, because there were, like, people everywhere. They were talking, drinking, having a good time.
Oh, the lady.
And jam.
Yes, the lady.
Okay, I remember now.
This place is and I was just like so excited. And my sister, she goes up to the bar because there's a hot bartender, and she's just trying to and play her game. And I'm like, all right, go ahead, do your thing, just hang out over there. But I'm excited, so I have my brew in hand, and I just go strutting about this place, and it's
what in hand?
It is fantastic. All right, my brew. I had my brew in
your
hand.
brew.
My brew.
What is your brew made of?
Of. I don't know, brew-like substances. Probably yeast and something like that. I don't know. Whatever.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But, so I'm enjoying the scenery and everything that's going on, and then all of a sudden, I see a lady. I see this woman, and she is singing. And this singing just...
So he didn't hear the singing, he just saw the singing.
Yes, that is exactly...
Alright, so either way, there's a lady, she's singing.
And then she eventually makes her way, first to Alo.
She passes by, singing her lovely song, and I just felt the need, the urge, the desire to just give her 20 gold.
And then after she made her way to you...
Yeah, she came by the bar, because I was still over there.
And then she made her way across the bar, back to, some other tables. But then you noticed something.
I definitely noticed something. As she passed by, I realized what she had just done. She had used... I went to go take a sip. And when I went to go take that sip, my mug has somehow become empty. I know when a bard does something to you.
So, what did you find out? What did all of this accumulate to?
I'm gonna marry her.
And then I believe you screamed that out.
No, that was telepathical.
Oh, that's right.
That was telepathical. All right, that was
what the flip?
But whatever, I wrote it on the chalkboard.
But anyway,
She'll see it later.
so just for recap, what exactly did you determine though?
I determined that I had just been the victim of a bard using
a bardic attack. And so what exactly did you do about it?
So my response was, okay. I pulled out my harmonica. I start to play with her. And I use my ability of countersong.
And it was actually quite a spectacle. I mean, both of you staying within enough distance to ruin her plan, but also entertain the crowd. But then, she attempted to retreat back to her table.
As soon as I get within, 4 feet of them, they all stand up at the table like they're about to throw down.
Pretty much.
They were very standoffish. They did not take too kindly to, me and, just interacting with them, at all. So I was like, oh, my bad. I didn't mean to, encroach on y'all's whatever.
So y'all moved on from that. We had to cut that gaming session short, otherwise there may have been more to it. And I think something happened with you, actually.
So we're staying at this inn. I'd been trying to work the bartender a little bit, and she upgraded my room. Later, when I actually went up to that room, the bartender actually happened to be in that room, and waitress from earlier, Aloe had been trying to get her attention.
So you had quite fun that night.
Yeah, I had a wonderful night.
So the next day, you guys collected yourselves.
And departed.
And now, to the docks.
To the docks we go.
All right. As you continue to head south, you leave pretty early. It is a couple more hours before you start to see anything in the distance, but you are starting to see the landscape change quite a bit as you travel. Going from the rocky mountainous area that surrounds that outpost town, from there it starts to not really open up to the same open plains and rolling fields that you're used to, but it definitely opens up to slightly taller grass fields, more wild than you're used to, scattered with various wildflowers, a few trees here and there, but nothing really that wooded. The air is much cooler the further you get away. You're feeling much more of a different type of breeze than you're used to. As you continue through this, the landscape begins to change even more, where the tall grass begins to start fading, and now you're starting to see a different variety of plant life that you're actually not familiar with. Things that you haven't quite seen before. Leaves and plant growth and sizes, different types of flowers and colors. Especially since you've grown mostly in farm area, you haven't seen really wild growth before.
Yeah.
Wild growth looks even different, even if you see the same thing. And then, in the distance, you see what appears to be quite a large city. You would equate this to be about as big as the capital.
Really?
Which is defined as the biggest city on the island. So, to consider it being as big is quite impressive, because no other city inside the island comes close. But as you get closer and closer, the city itself almost seems to loom bigger and bigger. As you get closer and closer, it seems to extend further and further each way you look, almost to the point to where you were never quite sure if you ever could see around it. But once you get there, unfortunately this will be a very visual thing for you guys, not so much for the podcast, but when you guys get there, you come up to it, and the best way to describe it is you still have it looking like the Roman stonemasonry, but the design is what catches you both off guard. The only thing that feels similar to you as you get close is the stonework. The design itself is the best way I can put it is archaic steampunk London, built out of Roman stonework.
Interesting.
What the fuck? And that's always been here.
Yeah. This is not new. This has just always been the docks. But remember, for the most part, you've traveled, no one's ever, as far as you know, you've never really met until you went to the outpost anybody who's ever been here.
That's crazy.
In all that 6 years of traveling around the entire island, you've never actually met anybody who has come here.
Or will admit that they came here.
So, that's why as you approach, the closer you get, the more those details distort. First, it simply looks like a normal city, but as you get closer, you get this eerie feeling that you can't put your finger on until you get close enough to realize that it's not at all what you're used to. Walking into a different world.
Yeah.
It doesn't take you long to kind of realize that there's a bit of a pattern with the way that the city is built. You have your outer area and the road that you're coming in on, and then you have your first set of buildings, but you basically have kind of this first layer is your market slash like trading post. This is where a lot of your in and out is coming for the island itself. Not a lot of actual trading going on here. This is more of like the transportation area, finalizing everything coming in. This is where they organize it. Everything that's going out, this is where they check it off. The next layer that you guys are looking at, the middle layer of how this place is built, is the residential / shop. This is more of what you think of as the market. And that's probably where you guys will first make your stops. And then beyond that, that's really closest to the shore is all your warehouses. So that, it doesn't take very long based on talking to the local people and kind of getting a feel for this town, that's really what you're looking for. This is where the area of town that you guys have headed to. Here is where you're most likely going to be able to find all the provisions that you need. Your chauffeur.
What's his face?
Jim or Hyman. He will say that right around this area he'll be able to put the horses up and guard the carriage overnight. And you guys are able to look around. You have some time to kind of figure it all out. The area you notice, there's a lot more segregation. There's good areas, bad areas, mid areas, high areas. Do you have a preference of where you're going to go, or are you guys going to scout the area and kind of figure out what's all available?
I would think we just want to go with, not necessarily what's least expensive, but cost effective, I guess.
So you would think middle class area, and then would you want to scout all of them, or would you want to kind of agree with him and go straight for middle class to kind of save on price? Because upper class is obviously going to be the most luxurious and probably the most reputable, but it's also going to come with the highest price.
Yeah.
Low class, it's questionable, but it's cheap. Mid class, you're going to get a good price, and you should get decent service, but there still runs a chance of...
but I feel like we both have pretty high charismas that we could probably go to high class and not have to pay full price.
That is true.
Would you guys, I'm assuming you're going to be, asking around, talk about what the best places are to, go get a drink, maybe find, someone who can take us somewhere kind of thing?
Yeah.
So you would say that there are 3 known places in town, and each of them have their varying levels of reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, go ahead and you guys can both do this if you want. For this particular case, it would be an investigation. We'll see how well you guys can do.
Investigation.
For looking around for information.
Are negatives good?
You subtract them from your number, and then that's the new number you want to meet.
So what do you mean?
Most of my adjustments are negative numbers.
That would mean that, because you're not proficient in them, so that's normal. When you become proficient, you get rid of the penalties, because when you aren't studied in something, you don't know how to do it so well. So what you do? What's the stat that it's based on?
Wisdom.
Okay, and then what's the modifier?
Just for investigation specifically, there's nothing.
So then that means it's a straight wisdom check. If you were to, say, put a proficiency point in investigation, you would then have a +1 to it, which would mean you would take your wisdom, add 1, and then that's the number you roll against. Because remember,
gotcha.
You don't want to roll over, so the higher your number is, the harder it is to roll over it.
Got it.
So go ahead and let me know what you guys roll.
11 out of 20.
15 out of 17.
Okay, so you hear about quite a few, but you definitely get enough information for the top 3. One of which is well known for being in the seedy part of town, and most people don't suggest it, but there's a lot of whispers about if you need anything done, that's the place to go.
Okay.
You can get anything done there.
Okay.
The other 2 are more reputable. One will just cost you a lot more, but for the most people who know about it, they say it's worth the extra cost. And they're usually the snooty, uptight people. So of course they're going to say that it's worth the extra cost. Just, again, it's the difference in price and comfort.
And gotcha. This is a place to stay. This is what we're talking about.
All 3 of these places are taverns. Places to stay nearby, but these are places to find someone to take you where you're looking to go.
So, one of the things my character is going to take into account in this particular situation is, or would think would be a better idea to go to the seedier spot if we were traveling to the Isle of Darkness, because of...
More likely to find someone who'd be willing to go there.
Exactly, because that's the type of place that shady stuff goes on, dark stuff happens.
That's actually, I know that's a very fair point.
But because where we're headed is the Isle of Light. And from all of the research that I've done, this is like high-end, beautiful, Bahama-type weather. Like all the rich, fancy people go here for their vacation, and they chill here. And like, if that's the kind of place that we're headed, we're gonna find a better introduction into that world from those people that are on the higher end. So I
Someone's
personally
been paying attention to all
would
the clues.
think that would be the way that we would want to go on to get.
So I'm assuming that means that you guys are all going to want to take note of the 3 different places for future reference.
Yes, definitely.
All
for
right.
sure.
So
Do you have those notes, Mr.?
I
note taker, get ready.
Just come on now. Now you guys are making me do work and stuff.
You can't just sing all day. You have to do at least some paperwork.
God, what do you? I gotta rest my vocal cords, okay?
Exactly. So
Exactly.
start typing.
Rawr.
The mid location, and I know you didn't quite say this, but I'm assuming that you're piecing it together based on the other factors of how this campaign has been following.
Yes.
So the last place you'll probably end up going, because this one will be the mid-range, which is typically where everybody goes.
Mhm.
So you're more likely to find someone to take you to the Garden Island, because that's where everybody can afford to go.
Mm-hmm.
That particular tavern that you found, this is the mid-range tavern, so it's
Mhm.
like the middle-class one. That one is called the Rusty Nail.
Okay.
Then you have the most seedy of the locations. This one will be probably the one you want next after your first campaign, or after your first task, because
Mhm.
this one you put together will probably be the best option for you to get to the Isle of Darkness. This place is called Keelhold.
Wait, what?
Keelhold. That's Keelhauled.
And that's all one word?
Yes.
Alright. Keeled Hall.
Keelhold.
Keelhauled. Alright.
And then the nicest place is called the Skipper.
The skipper.
Skipper! Oh, that's great. Alright. And so these are all tavern. Okay. So, are we able to figure out, like, how to get to these places fairly easily?
For the most part, these are well-known places enough to where if you go to the right part of town, be able to eventually figure it out, and enough people near enough to it would point you the right way.
So I'm definitely going to be going into this part of town in my high-class outfit.
Which place you going to first?
The Skipper.
Gotcha. I just
The Skipper.
gotta say it.
We're on our way to the Skipper. And I'm going to be donning one of my,
Now,
disguise.
While you're walking through this place, before we get there, just so you know, now this place is also quite different in terms of the market that you guys are also used to. Seeing as how this place is also a port city, there is a lot of stuff that doesn't make it into town that, was sent here but didn't make it past customs. That's just going to sit here now for other ships and other passengers and passerbys and visitors and things like that. So, if there is anything that y'all are looking to obtain or to offload, if you say don't necessarily think you need a particular item of yours currently, but could get something in exchange for it, this would be a place that you guys could look around.
What item?
Any item. I'm just saying, if at this point there's anything that you guys have that you've been questionable on
Its usefulness.
continuing with, here is one of those few places that you'll actually have an opportunity to exchange it with something equal or close to.
Interesting.
Like, the only thing I can think of is trying to get rid of that book. But then again, we never really touched back on that about it.
Oh, the book. Yeah. But I was still trying to investigate it, because I still have a role for it.
Well, that would all have to be backgaming, I
Yeah.
guess. Because that could change what happens here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because every time you roll for it, then, because you've opened it, though, right?
Mm-mm.
No,
you haven't even
we
touched
never.
it.
No.
You're just
We've
trying
never
to... Okay.
gone over that.
No,
Yeah.
But you have to wait for the next level up, or...
No, I had another roll I could have done on it, but since she touched it and it was in her possession, she did not let me get close enough to investigate it to actually do the roll for it.
So then we kind of put on the back burner
Yeah,
of
right.
So I haven't
what
been
would
able
Well,
to
remember,
roll
you don't
this.
have to handle it. You just have to be
Right,
able
but
to
I chose
visually...
not to because I wasn't able to get that close to it when we were gaming it. That's
Yeah,
what
right.
happened. So we just...
So do you want to attempt... Because at that point I can't give you one for each level, but I can at least give you one if you guys want to put that you let him at least look at it for a few minutes. He doesn't have to touch it. He just has to be in its visual sight.
No, because I think what my character did was she was playing dumb about it. Because it wasn't out. Mm-hmm. She had put it away. So when he was asking about it, she was acting like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
So then that caused the interest of his character being like, maybe when she's distracted or not there or asleep, maybe I'll go...
that you're going to try and snag it.
Yeah.
Snag it.
I was thinking, like, maybe I would do that, but also I was really abnormally curious as to why she was being so protective of it. Like, that boggled my mind more than anything else, which is why I was so apt to investigate what was going on with this book.
So would you try, would at any point you try to obtain the book?
I mean, at some point, maybe. I haven't gotten to that point where I'm concerned enough to go that far just yet, but...
You haven't used the book yet, right?
No.
So, you know its potential, you just haven't decided to use it, but you understand what that book can do for you.
Yeah.
Cool. So, in this particular case, but yeah, just letting you guys know that you guys have a lot more options here.
Right.
And if you guys had anything in mind, we could do that, or we can kind of skip to you guys going straight to the tavern.
I think I'm pretty set as far as I know. I've already spent what I feel like is too much, and I want my sister, the keeper of the funds, to, jump down my throat for buying too much stuff.
What was the last thing you bought? Because I don't think I've updated my totals.
Alright, while you do that, I'm going to grab another drink.
So what do you have as the total right now?
3,118.
Okay, and let me check, see what my total is. Yeah, we're down to 2818. So, last gaming session, I took away the money that we gave to the bartender, which was 30 gold total.
Yeah.
I took out that. And then before that, there was the 2 spells. That's what you didn't I didn't mention before. There were 2 spells that I had to purchase. 240 gold and 200 gold was the other one. And so those together were probably what makes up that difference. That was Vocalize and Silence. And those are the ones that I had to purchase from in town. The other ones I was able to get from Andre.
So, more than likely on our boating travels, we're not going to be able to take our carriage with us. Because most boats are probably not big enough to take that. So...
But you are in the nicer part of town, right?
We are in the nicer part of town. So maybe we need to look into getting something smaller that maybe our servant guy can carry. That would carry most of... our extra whatever equipment.
Right. Provisions and stuff.
Yeah.
Damn, this would be a really good place to have that thing.
That saddle.
No, my storage cabinet.
I thought you bought it.
No, I didn't. That's like it has to be at least 1,000 gold just in materials.
Yeah.
And then I have to do a whole spell on it and everything.
We'll
and I'm not even high enough level to learn the spell, which is the problem.
And it can technically only hold items for his performance.
But I have...
Well, why don't we look and see if there's a way to get a bag of holding or of something similar, so that way it's a smaller bag or like a box of holding that.
Well, also keep in mind, you guys understand the concept of freight ships. Like, you do know that there are ships that are big.
Okay.
You don't have to get rid of the carriage idea, but if you are looking to cut costs, you guys are on the right path.
Okay. Well, don't know what we're gonna need. So if we're just gonna be walking around while we're over there, what would we want to bring with us in the carriage that we wouldn't be able to carry?
I'm assuming that because of how long we traveled, we would have cooking equipment and all that stuff that our guy would be able to use.
Oh, that's true.
And any additional bedding or tents or blankets or rolls,
Got you.
All that stuff, and then, again, all of our supplies, so water skins or a larger container that can carry water and rations and food and...
Okay.
What have you. And, other supplies to, like, make fire or have lanterns and...
Right.
Just your usual adventuring...
Okay.
But since you guys aren't normally adventurers, the idea of carrying all that stuff is foreign to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we would usually put it in the carriage.
Yeah,
like, to you, a lantern is the only time you carry a lantern is when you're using it. Duh.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean, wait, what do you mean you're carrying a lantern in the daytime? Like, to you, it's weird.
Right.
When she's, like, bringing up all this stuff, and Adventure's like, backpack, belt, belt, jacket, backpack. And you guys are like, carriage. What? The chest inside the carriage? What do you mean?
Saddlebag? Like...
What are you talking about?
No, Frank's holding it. He's got it.
Yeah, right?
Okay. Yeah, we could probably find some sort of, holding... Well, is a bag of holding going to be more expensive than taking the whole damn carriage on this trip back and forth? Because, yeah, those bags of holding are expensive as hell.
Bag of holding, yeah, those are pretty expensive in this area. If you can find one.
Well,
that kind of magic is not around this particular region.
That's what I thought. Okay, well...
That foreign magic.
We can think about that tomorrow. How about that, before we leave?
Alright. Once we figure out what kind of boat we're going on?
Yes. Because depending upon what we can procure will depend upon what we need to prepare for.
Yeah.
So, I think that should be one of our higher priorities. So, in order to do that, let's be off to the skipper.
Onwards to the skipper.
Alright, so you start to head towards, the part of town, the nicer part of town. Seen as how everything's set up in layers, so you can kind of tell based on what's around what section of town you're in, and based on how it's changing, you can kind of sort of understand where you need to head to get to the areas that the bars and taverns would be. Out here, you can definitely tell that you're in a nicer part of town. People are dressed a lot differently. You feel a lot more comfortable here than you have in the other areas of town that you've been to so far. The skipper is actually not that difficult to find, as once you get into the nicer market area, the road forks, and right at that fork is a very nice looking building. Definitely more colorful based on the streamers and banners that are hung on it. Looks like a couple flags are hanging from it, most of them nautical themed. So you're definitely kind of getting a feel for this place. But what's also interesting is that fork seems to fork and go around the building, and then not too far after the building it comes back into one. And it just seems to be slightly out of place, but it also kind of draws you to it.
It was basically built to stand out.
Exactly. And stand out it does. It looks extremely well done. The exterior below the roofline resembles that of like a very gallant ship. The windows and everything look very similar to how you would expect it to.
That place.
Decked out. Above
That's
that,
the place.
It's decked out
Right
with
there,
various
sister.
nautical flags of various locations and areas. So this place definitely looks quite nice. You can see various types of people going in and out, but most of them well dressed, well taken care of. Nothing seedy about this place.
Right. Sweet. Let's go in.
All right. So entering is seems to be no big thing. You actually walk up about a small stoop of about 5 stone steps up, and then enter in these grandiose double doors. And as soon as you open it, you do get hit with just a lovely sound of a live band playing. Right now, it's a 3-string band. Looks like a lute, stand-up bass. Another one is playing almost what looks like a violin, but without a bow. Playing it like a violin, but with his fingers instead of a bow. They sound quite pleasant, but there's also, chatter and laughter. It's a lot warmer inside. There's a giant hearth going that's just, rumbling on one side. But then on the other side, since the bar is actually in the middle and it's actually a round bar, so think like Cheers but circular.
Right.
And so on one side there's actually...
So it's kind of like the road, except inside.
Exactly. So on one wall on the left, after you walk in, there's a giant hearth. I mean, this thing is probably about 6 feet tall and about 8 feet long, just blazing. But on the other side of the room, there's actually an indoor like fire pit. That's about 6 feet in diameter just inside the building, and that's also going as well. And then there's just tables strewn about the place. The bar, I would say, is about 25 feet in diameter and just circular. Has 5 bartenders at it.
Mm-hmm.
and there seems to be plenty of room. There's seats at the bar. There's plenty of tables open, but the place is definitely packed and very lively. And everyone seems to be pretty pleasant, well dressed, and for the most part, you can kind of overhear a lot of different types of conversations, but some deals are being made. Other people are just talking about recent travels that they've been to, and for the most part, there's a lot of respect going along, is what you can also tell here.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I will have you actually roll for. Go ahead and roll me a perception check.
Okay.
6 out of 19.
You definitely can tell that there's something odd about the respect level being given. It's very equal to everybody talking.
16 out of 18.
You pointed out, because the reason why you were able to point it out more so is because one of those is actually, the sailor, and you had to research the part. So you have a little bit more of an insight to an understanding to sailors just because you researched it, so you'll be able to point it out.
Is that what... See, because I was going to think, because this is so higher class, I was going to wear the nobility kind of one.
You can do that too. Either one.
But,
your choice.
Does this place look like it's more...
It's nautical themed, but you're in a high class part of town. Either one would work.
Okay.
But again, you're not trying to portray yourself as a sailor who knows what they're doing. You're trying to present yourself as someone who needs a ride.
Exactly.
So
that's
nobility would make more sense.
Okay.
But tying back to part of one of those personas and one of those performances that you wanted to do on stage, was a sailor or a merchant sailor.
Mm-hmm.
You have a bit of an understanding. So when you walk in here, you immediately point out, such as her, she kind of pings you and it's like, what's wrong with this? Why are they treating each other this way? You realize that first off, you notice a couple, and you hone in on one interaction, and you're like, wait a second, I know that interaction. That's the proper way to gentlemen or to like captains are supposed to greet each other. It's a mutual thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start looking around and you start to realize that all of the interactions are happening on that same level. And so what you immediately realize is that there's no one in here that's basically not a captain or the captain's like immediate right or left hand man.
Right.
So everybody in here is the top brass of the ship they came from.
Oh shit.
So you notice, just bits of the oddity of why there's so much not tension, but that balancing of
high
people
level
talking to each other.
Yeah.
Just trying to be that perfect level of respect. You notice it more as that's because these are all super high class people with face to lose. And these aren't just your sailors, these are the men who run everything. So now you kind of get a different perception of this place. Now, granted, you also still see the random spurring of nobility and other people. The majority of them here are top brass of ships, I should say.
Right.
But there are other people just like you. Looks like people that are looking for rides or just like this type of crowd. But the majority of them do stand out as travelers and merchants.
Right. Okay.
So let's also go ahead. So I'm assuming now, how do you guys decide to go about asking around?
Okay, so this is what I would need to discuss with you, sister.
Yeah.
So, how exactly? I mean, I know how I'm trying to look like nobility. What are you going as? I should say.
Well, I think in previous sessions I did buy a nicer outfit. I think before we left.
That's right. Didn't you have like a really nice fancy red dress or something like that?
Red dress.
I might have be thinking about a podcast.
I don't remember any other red dress, but no, I could have sworn my character at least bought one additional outfit because
okay,
she is trying to be more of that high society kind of persona, like
the manager, the one who knows best and who gets things done. So yeah, so you have definitely, I believe we did speak on a previous one about you having upgraded your wardrobe quite a bit. While you were upgrading yours, you took Q and got like one or two outfits. So you would also be... You'd be able to present yourself as a high class. Plus, you guys both deserve it. I mean, you guys are successful. You're You're the next big thing to, like,
So my
truly
question
famous,
is
you know
this,
what I mean?
like,
So,
would we want to
Yeah.
just try and pass ourselves off as what we are? Like,
that's what I'm asking.
famous, just bards? Or famous performers that are going around and, like...
on this island, you pretty much are famous. You guys do have that option. You spent 6 years and have played in almost every major city and at the capital. Yeah, people. I mean, there wasn't places. I mean, towards the end of that trip, you were going to places that you had never been to, and people had already known you. Like, they were expecting.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
That is true.
Your guys' backstory, you did so well at building that. You guys do have things that you can use. But if you don't want to use that to your advantage, if you want to do this because you're trying to do it on the low key because of your fears of the conspiracy, you may not want to get other bards' attention and other people's involvement because you want to be the one to break the story.
I do have an idea, though.
Yeah.
I do have an idea. So, I would say, let's see if we can pass it off just by saying, give us a ride because we're famous or something like that. But if we have to, like, get more in depth, we can say that somehow somebody that is on vacation in this island, like, heard about us, and they want us to, like, come and do a show or something for them out there. And then hopefully that can be our excuse as to why we need a ride if people are trying to get that in depth as to why we need a ride. Is that a bad idea?
I'm sorry, I was completely distracted by what he was doing. I did not.
I'm sorry,
hear your
my
idea.
microphone. So I'm just gonna leave it as is, and just
Oh.
that's good enough distance. So we're done.
Alright.
Alright, so run me back that entire idea
So,
again.
one more time. So, basically, if whoever we ask wants to get in depth as to why we need to go to this island and we need to have a reason, we could say that because, my reputation preceded myself, somebody on this island heard about my skills and or abilities, and they therefore requisitioned me to come out to do a performance for something that we make up that they're have going on. So
I feel like we should nail down all of those unknown details.
well, but yes, I'm sharing with you the beginning of the theory, and then together we put those pieces together.